Moranuba, Ire Walewa, Mobaleta Con Yeso, Moresiayo, Moroke Modele, Adura Miba Mujorire, hope to do more faramo, Adinte Ayo. What you gonna do? I'm gonna do. I'm gonna come resolve my okay. Life is beautiful, it's okay. Jesus look already. I am there. No more trouble, no more sorrow. I no go back, I no go tomorrow. Jesus look already. Yeah. Jesus look already. Jesus look already. Talo kayo de tango de yeah. I got a redemption, I got a connection. Jesus look already. Modu ba 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 ba. Bango di yes. Bango di yes. Abundantly moving bankly, pressed down, shaking together, running over. Yeah. Oh, Ibuku Togara, Korede, Desu, Korede. Not be me the fight, not me the win. Grace and mercy, long Mamiri. Not be me the fight, not me the win. Grace and mercy, low amiri, yeah. I no good in Sheki, everybody, everywhere. Mighty Jireh, my provider. Oh, Korede, Akorede ni Jesu, lo Korede. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. The song Korede came to me and was inspired by a young man called Korede Bello. He inspired me to do that song because of a song Godwin he did. I don't get a lot, Godwin. Something, Godwin. I be like, what was this guy thinking, for Christ's sake? Because all my life, Godwin is just someone's name. Korede Bello gave me a testimony to the name. He made me know that when you hear Godwin, that means there's a testimony. So anytime I hear Godwin, I say, thank you, Jesus, because there's a testimony. So that stuck with me for a long time. And then I was opportune to meet him, and I told him my testimony of him about his song, and he'd be like, wow. And I think since then, not only did the song stick with me, the guy Korede Bello stuck with me. So one day I was doing my morning devotion, and I ran out of songs. Do you do morning devotion and run out of songs? I do. Those times I just keep quiet, you know. So I think at that point I ran out of songs, you know, and next thing I just found myself calling Jesus Korede. As I explained to him why he's my Korede, you know. You're my Korede now. I mean, all these things that I hear, are you not the one that blesses? You know, all these blessings, this is what I'm doing. What did I know? What did I chop? What did I read? Who I be? You know, it's all been you. So the song just came to me like that, and I kept saying, Jesus, lo Korede, Korede, Korede ni Jesus. Jesus, lo Korede. It was amazing. I quickly recorded it on my phone before I forgot, and then did the recording, and boom, we're here. Thank God about that. I think music started from my house. It started with my father playing a lot of records in the house. So I just discovered that I resonated with the frequency of certain people. You know, uh, I just loved music. I just found out that anytime he plays a record, everything about me just is lost. The music just takes over me. You understand? And I'm keying myself into that world. You know, so I would imitate some of the singers, especially King Sunny Ade. I loved him so much that I would sing every of his ad libs, you know, and we had big records then, the album. So I just take the album, then his picture, whatever post he has, on that record, will be my post for a long time. So I would watch out for interviews of King Sunny Ade, and I would talk like him. I would gesticulate like him, and all that. And then I think later I found Michael Jackson, so I loved Michael Jackson also. So music just started from what my parents played in the house. I think that's where it started for me then. From there, I got into secondary school. I went to Mayflower School in Kenya. And then Taiwo would always had songs that we sang from books. We had a book called Mary Mayflower. And then I just found that I loved all the songs, And every time I went to school, I always had my Mary Mayflower with me, so that after reading chemistry and biology, I'll go into the Mary Mayflower, then read some of the songs, sing some of the songs Taiwo had compiled, in the book for us. Then from there, I went to the university, and then I think, I met a guy, Tunema came up by name, said we can start a group. I'd be like, a group? Wow, okay. And then he taught me a few songs, and then we went to a few places, and then we sang in front of some fellowships, and they were like, wow, where have you been all our lives? And I'd be like, ooh, do I sound that good? I think then all of that was now helped me to get some kind of approval from the people, and decided to take it up from there until I eventually met members of Midnight Crew, and we started something way bigger. So it moved from being a hobby to what I want to do with my life. So from Midnight Crew was a professional foundation, and then we took it up from there. I think I've really not been able to place it. I've not been able to place my kind of music or genre. I think I just, anything that is cool with me, honestly, I go for it. Anything that is different, that I try to mix a lot of different forms of music together to create something new, I think it depends on the idea I have in my mind that brings out what the music form will be like. I love Fuji a lot. Now that's because it's really different. It's I think it's owned by us. It's owned by Nigeria. I think Fuji music, by my research, is the real original music that originated from here, from Nigeria. High life came from somewhere else. You understand? Juju is a derivative of high life, which also came from someone else. You understand what I'm saying? Afro music was something. Baba Fela heard something, joined it to something, created his own. But Fuji really came from here. It didn't come from anywhere else. It originated in Nigeria. So I love it. I love it because, of course, it just stands you out, makes it different. So whatever you can put on it to make it global, all the best. I think Fuji stands out for me, Sha, anyways. God is everything, it's not just Bible, but He made us in our image, in His image rather. He made us in His image and likeness, So that means that when He created us, He dropped His creative ability in us so that we can do things like Him. So even when whatever you see creativity, is God at work. It's something God dropped, So I had learned that from a kid. So I just knew that this is my source, this is everything. I'm just here. This place looks like a strange place. So it's better to always connect to where you're from. So my relationship with God is not off and on. It's so, this is who we are, this is what we do. Michael and Jehovah rolling together. It's like that for me. Everything is God. There's nothing I want to do by myself, then go and meet Him for the one He will do. You understand what I'm saying? So even the things that seemingly I do by myself, He has empowered me to do them. So it's all around God. I don't exist without Him. God is everything. I'm honest. It's not a cliche. Honesty is everything. I don't know how to think outside God. I don't know how to take a next step without God. Now, that's not to say I've not made mistakes before. I've made mistakes before because I didn't wait to hear. I was in a hurry. You understand? And after I made those mistakes, I always see the repercussion by myself. And then the fantastic thing about this God. After you left Him and you made your mistakes, it is still Him you are coming back to. And He'll still say, welcome back. It's amazing. So He's everything. And I clocked 40 this year. So I've had 40 years of mistakes. Do you understand what I'm saying? So I know nobody should teach me again that it's all about Him. Working with God is like having a constant orijo about life. He's the Alpha, He's the Omega. Why not roll with Him? You roll with Him, it tells you what to do. You're cool. That's why the Bible says it's all about obedience. That obedience is better than sacrifice. So why do the mistake and then sacrifice and say, Lord, I'm sorry, when obedience pays you better? You understand what I'm saying? So I've learned the way of obedience. It's just obey. Obey, Oton. If it tells you jump, don't worry. You don't have to check. Always be tough times. There'll always be tough times. There are tough times all the time, But I like what David said. He said, even though I walk through the valley of shadow of death, I fear no evil because you are there. So it's amazing, the valley of shadow of death is there. The amazing thing, one thing we should realize first is that darkness existed before light. If there was light, God would not have said, let there be light. So there was darkness and God could move around it. It was not a problem for Him. So when darkness comes, hold on to the one that was there before the darkness and said, let there be light. So all those things, whether it's by a foul or it's by life circumstance, just know that God is able. That's the way it is.
Hello there and welcome to the show. Yes, it is Church Culture right here on Channels TV and my name is Fumbi Ogumbawo. It's great to have you join us on today's show. As always, each episode is special, each episode is packed with excitement and it's also packed with a lot of discussion. And today's episode is not any different. Today I have two men in the studio with me that are going to help me trash down a very important subject. In fact, too big. I'm not sure that we can exhaust everything in the time that we have, but we will do our very best. Okay, now I have Mr. Kola Oyeneyin. I'm so happy I got that right, so I just have to say. I'm so happy I got that right, but thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
For those of you who don't know Mr. Kola, he is a spiritual leader at RCCG Joshuaville. He's also the founder of Gen Voices and Vineyard Group. Thank you so much again for taking time out of your busy schedule. I really appreciate it, and I can't wait for us to dig deep.
Thanks.
Yes. And of course, on my left, I have a political aspirant. Yes, I'm so happy. I have a political aspirant of the Lagos mainland chapter for the chairmanship candidacy, and his name is Mr. Dayo Isreal.
Hi,
Hello,
how
sir.
are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you.
I like your hat. It's very
Thank
bright.
you.
Just put a color in this
Thank my
entire
wife.
studio. Oh, your wife picked it out. Nice, nice, nice. Okay, so what we're going to discuss today is why Christians are failing in politics. Sir, you kind of nodded your head a little bit. Do you think Christians are failing?
I think, look, let me rephrase a little bit. I wouldn't agree that Christians are failing in politics. I think we need to define what failure really is, and then possibly then measure what Christians that have gone into politics historically beyond just Nigeria, because a lot of times when we define some of these things, we sort of put them within the confines of our environment, Nigeria. One of my personal inspirations in governance, as I like to say, beyond politics, is the legendary Abraham Lincoln. This was a man who was known, defined, characterized by his faith, by his belief in God, a devout Christian, a man of the Spirit, who led, the U.S. through the entire, Civil War, slave trade abolition and all of that, and literally went on to be one of perhaps the greatest president the U.S. has ever had. He was a Christian, and he was a politician, and a successful one at that. So for me, that for me is a typical example of a successful Christian in politics. And I can go on and reel out people who have gone into politics who are spirit-filled, Bible-waving, tongue-talking, and they excelled in politics. So I wouldn't say that Christians are failing in politics. I mean, Nigeria, it could be, we may have some who have gone in and haven't been successful at winning elections. And two different things. Losing an election is different from failing in politics.
Okay. I mean, Dayo, you are a Christian. You are in politics right now. How are you finding that?
It's interesting, it's challenging, it's interesting, and it's also a battle of ideals. I remember when I decided to run, and I was setting up a team. I was running a grassroots election, and the worst election you can ever run is a grassroots election. It's very interesting. You're dealing with people of different mindset and different background, and the first thing that some of my followers at that time said to me was that we had to go and sacrifice to Ogun. I'm not joking, I'm talking of powerful women who said, if I'm going to be on your team, if I'm going to be your supporter, we have to go and sacrifice to Ogun.
And so what did you do?
In Yoruba, they call it Ofelo Bogun. One of the reasons why they do that, they have a very strong belief in that. That so if you're on the campaign journey with you and they shoot them, the bullet will not harm them, because bullet comes from Ogun. They will not have accident because the car is made from iron. Ogun is the god of iron.
Iron, yes.
So bullet, cutlass, cars and stuff, so that to protect themselves, and there will be danger. There won't be any danger. And I said, no, I'm not going to. I have a belief. I didn't run because I'm looking for an appointment or a position.
So what made you decide to even partake in politics? In the first place?
I think for me it was just, I didn't expect to. I didn't think that it was time. But I'm a person driven by purpose. I'm driven by inspiration. And I always desire to know the heartbeat of God for the moment. What is the heartbeat of God for that time? You must understand the heartbeat of God per time for you. For God told Abraham, well, go and kill your son. And said, no, stop, don't. And then I got a leading that what God wants me to do right now is to begin to set the pace in a more strategic way.
So that means that Christians should run in politics. Mr. O, can I call you Mr. O? Sure. Okay, Mr. O. So should Christians definitely partake in politics? Is it our responsibility?
Okay. I think maybe we should step back and define politics. So politics is essentially, from the Greek word politica. So that's the root word for politics, and it simply means the organization and the and the overseeing of the public affairs. And if you think about it, I think that's generally the responsibility of every citizen of every town, every village, every community, every state, every country, to ensure that you have an input into the overseeing and the organization of your environment. Now they say that by default, every human being is a political animal. You know, just that's by default, that you're actually inherently political in your thinking, in the way that you think. Now, to your question, that should Christians get involved? My answer is, you know, why on earth would Christians not get involved in politics? You know, as long as we have a nation to build, as long as we have good governance to provide, as long as we have a nation to fix, everyone that has what it takes to fix it, to build it, and to grow it should be involved in politics. So to his point, and I mean, great point around, you know, Isaiah 9:6 says, unto us a child is born, unto us a son is given, the government shall be upon his shoulder. But then it goes on to say in the book of Proverbs that, you know, righteousness exalts a nation and sin is a reproach. Now there's what you call the governmental righteousness, which is the righteousness that comes in governance, that you offer as someone who's seen to be righteous when you're in government. We've seen great examples in the scriptures of Joseph, who was, you know, whether you like it or not, he was a number 2 man in Egypt, you know, and he was a successful politician. He was a successful administrator, you know, who came up with what possibly the most life-saving solution that we've ever seen in any nation so far. I mean, the kind of famine that could have wiped out an entire nation. You know, literally came up with a strategy that would take them out of farming and also extend that to other nations for the people of God to be sustained. He was not only doing that for the Egyptians, but actually was indirectly doing that for his people who ended up in Egypt, and then they were preserved. Now, so he from there went into government, served excellently, you know, until another king arose who didn't know Joseph any longer before, you know, and then you fast forward to Daniel. Daniel, from the book of Daniel chapter 2 up onto Daniel 11:12, served under 4 Babylonian government. You know, so I guess what I'm trying to say is that absolutely every Christian that has what it takes to go into government, to go into politics, should aspire to go into politics.
How do you know that you have what it takes?
I
mean, you're in politics right now, so...
I didn't set out to be, and I think I'm pushing on what Kola said. You know, for many years, Christians have seen politics as a dirty game. We all say we don't want to get involved.
Exactly,
but
yes.
It's never going to change if we don't get in there. Daniel, that he was alluding to, I think Daniel chapter 7 verse 4 says, now is the time for the saint of the Most High to possess the kingdom. Now go and look into the scriptures. Every battle ever won, everything that God ever did with his people was about possessing the kingdom, was about taking over nations, was about governance. It's at the heartbeat of God, because God was responsible for taking charge of the world through priests before. Yeah. So really the priests were the ones that were leaders, they were governors and were president. Until the Israelites said, give us a king. And that was the beginning of governance. So even politics itself is not the end. It's only a means to the end. The end is governance itself. So that's why Kola is not a politician, is involved in governance in the third part of his life. So politics is a road. You can't get into good governance, to the instrumental governance, without actually running for public office. So we must understand that we need to be able to do that. And why are we, they say the evil is perpetrated when good refuse to rise. So when we Christians refuse to get involved and change the narrative from the inside, we allow evil to thrive in the political sector. And that's what is happening. Everybody has a gift, everybody has a talent. But if you know that your calling is in the space of public service and you refuse to, you are doing a disjustice to humanity by not standing up and arising. The Bible says, and Deborah said, and then I arose as a mother in Israel. Who was that? That was Deborah. Because there were kings and leaders, there was a leadership vacuum. There were issues that were going on. And she arose and said, I was going to step in and bring order back into place. So when Christians go into politics, they're bringing order. They're bringing, like Kola also mentioned, they have a grace for 10 times better to do things differently. Look at what is happening in Nigeria today. The economy is moving, you know, at its own pace, gradually. Things are getting better. Partly also because there is a grace of God, especially on the national leadership of our country, Nigeria, that we have at the moment. So it's important because when the righteous reign, the people prosper. That's what happens.
Definitely, we're going to keep the conversation going on social media. So follow us on Twitter, that is @ChurchCultured. Let us know what you think about this. Do Christians need to be in politics? Should they be in politics? My guests seem to think absolutely yes, but I want to know what you think as well. So go on Twitter, it's @ChurchCultured, and comment and share and tweet, and let's keep the conversation going. We'll be back after this.
Christians should delve into anything as long as it's not criminal, as long as it's not against the law of the land. I think it's about what you are called to do. The Bible says, darkness shall cover the people, deep darkness, the people. And so it's about in that darkness you will arise, you will shine. So that's the most important thing. It doesn't matter the level of darkness. I think what gives efficacy to light is how dark, the situation is. So the more dark it is, the more opportunity it is for light to shine. So I think that Christians should be involved in politics. Christians should be involved in anything that is legal, anything that is not against the law of the land, anything that would better humanity, anything that would change the course of humanity for the better. We cannot leave politics to those who are ungodly. And who says politics is a dirty game? I think that's a school of thought. Politics also can be a holy game. So it's not about politics, it's about those who are playing it. Christians play football, Christians are in the army, Christians occupy different areas of our economy, and the Bible says on the last day that the mountain of the Lord will be exalted above every other mountain, and people will come to it. So when you are talking about the mountain of the Lord, we are talking about that place where decision comes from, that place where people look to for hope, for succor. So I think that who should occupy that place if not Christians? And by the kind of life we are called to live as Christians, we are called to live a life of stewardship, because the Bible says, what do you have that you have not received? Therefore, if you have received, why do you behave as if you didn't receive? So on the basis of that, every Christian must have a stewardship heart. So we are already positioned, we are already built, we are already developed, we are already empowered as Christians, followers of Christ, who are in truth and in deed, to be able to plug into the responsibility of ordering the ship of the state in the direction of the people. You see, the Constitution of Nigeria says the welfare and the security of the people shall be the primary aim of government. I don't see any other group of people that should be able to represent that commitment, that mandate, than Christians, because we provided your faith as a Christian has affected your values. Because you see, at the end of the day, you are not called to yourself. Now you are blessed to bless. That's what God told Abraham. He said, I will bless you and make you a blessing. So I think that it amounts to fallacy for us to conclude that politics is a dirty game, and so because of that, Christians should not be involved. When Joseph was going to reveal himself to his brother, look at the strategy, look at the way he went about it. I mean, it was not common. I mean, God has rejected Samuel, God had rejected Saul, and he told Samuel to go and anoint another king. Then he said, he told God, he said, if Saul heard that I was going to anoint another king, Saul will kill me. He told him, he said, take a heifer with you. Go there, you are going there to sacrifice. Was he really going there to sacrifice? Now, that's not the main reason why he was going there. He was going there to anoint a king. I think the challenge is, as Christians, we are too common. As Christians, our strategies are too poor. As Christians, our strategies are too decodable. As Christians, our strategies are never coded. They always see us coming. We just come and we do things, the way everybody does it. But if you are going to succeed in politics and as into any other thing, you need to labor in the area of strategy. You need to labor in the area of superior thinking. You need to labor in the area of developing your mind to be able to to be able to hold complex models and be able to decode them and be able to see that nobody sees you coming. You may have a plan to go into politics in another 10 years. What stops you from becoming, starting an NGO today, doing good works, sorting people out, paying school fees and doing all of those things? I'm not saying that's what you should do, but you can do all of that. It was on that note that somebody like Abiola became the president of this country. For many years, before he ever ran for politics, for many years before he ever ran for a political office, he has been a philanthropist. He has gone to the north, he has gone to the south, he has gone to the east. He was one candidate that the entire country agreed on. Why? Because he was first a philanthropist before he declared his intention. So the truth of the matter is that we cannot afford to be common. We cannot afford to be seen coming. We have to appear as an emergency. But that emergency means that we have been planning in the background. I don't think that if I want to vote in an election now, I don't think I should just vote for somebody because the person is a Christian. Right? I want to ask, what are you doing? What do you want to do? What strategy are you using? What is your assurance concerning this thing that you are doing? Because we have seen many Christians who have arisen, who have said God told them to do this and God told them to do that. At the end of the day, all of those things that they said God told them to do are falling to the ground. So for me, I think we need to be strategic. That is the issue. I think what is missing here is strategy. Anything can change a Christian. A woman can change a Christian. Money can change a Christian. Car can change a Christian. Anything can change a Christian. Now, the truth is, life is about, the Bible says the life of a man does not consist in the abundance of what he possesses. Now, you have to recognize that you are a being of values. Now, it is your value that determines what happens to you. Now, the Bible says every man is tested according to the praise accorded him. So if you say that I can never steal, no problem. When you have the opportunity to steal and you don't steal, we now know that you cannot steal. If you say I can never be unfaithful to my wife, when you now have the opportunity to be unfaithful and you choose to be faithful, then we know that you are faithful. So the truth of the matter is that the Bible says if you fail in the day of adversity, your strength is little. So the issue is not what to impart, what to encounter. The issue is about who you are that encounters those things. So if you are not well prepared, if you are not well prepared for a role and you are not sure you are not prepared, what is going to happen is that the role will reveal yourself to you. When you get there, you begin to mess up, you begin to malfunction. You now know that the question is not with the role, it's not with politics, it's not with women, it's not with car, it's not with money, it's not with fame. The problem is with who you are. And because you do not know who you are, then you put yourself into a situation where you thought you could handle. And so when you get to the situation, you are not able to handle it. The situation now reveal you to you. You now discover yourself that, wow, this is who I am. Unfortunately, many people at that level, instead of them to own up and do the right thing, what do? They just flow with the tide. Someone told me a pathetic story that a group of people in a particular local government or in a particular constituency, a church, they brought money, they sponsored somebody, they said, you must go to the House of Assembly or whatever. So they spent all the money, they sent this guy to the House of Assembly. Their thinking was that a Christian needs to be there. So the guy got to the House of Assembly in that particular state and they began to receive reports of misbehavior, reports of corruption, reports of unfaithfulness, reports of unchristian behavior. So they called him. The council of that local assembly called him. Say, bros, come. What's going on? We are hearing about you. The man said, well, all this thing you are hearing about me is true. I can't deny it is true. What is going on there? It will be a disservice to me not to be part of it. So for now, be praying for me. This meeting needs to end now because there are some things we still want to share. I want to quickly go back so that I can be part of the booty. Now that's what he told them. He didn't even deceive them. He didn't even deny everything, all the allegations. So the question is not about politics. If politics can change you, that means car can change you, women can change you, anything can change you. We are the light of the world. We are the salt of the earth. We are a nation on high, we cannot be hidden. What is it that Christians cannot do? If we take our place, this is the challenge we are dealing with in the third world. We are in a third world country. Christianity in the third world, instead of it to take the form of heaven, has taken the form of third world. What is the form of third world? Survivor instinct. Everybody wants to survive. So check our prayer points. Check our declarations. A lot of times, these prayer points and declarations, they are predicated on pressure. Now, when we are praying about breakthrough, you can see the way people are shaking. You can see the fervency with which we are praying, as if they are going to pull down heaven and everything will be okay. Now, we have no respect for dignity of labor. We have no respect for excellence. We have no respect for order. We have no respect for growth. We have no respect for development. We just have respect for breakthrough. And I keep telling people there's no such thing as breakthrough. What you call breakthrough is a build-up. There's nobody that just blows. Now, when you see that somebody blows, there's a lot of pumping. There's a lot of fire that has gone on that made when the person now blows, you are now celebrating that the person has blown. So the issue is this. Christian can do anything. But our major distraction in the third world is this rat race, survivor. So a lot of people, what they do now is that they don't pursue a calling. They look for their comfort. They now invent a calling. They put it on the comfort. So they promote the calling so that they know that if this calling can be believed, then this comfort will be solved. That's most of the things that we have, and that is the problem. But if we can genuinely understand that the life of a man does not consist in the abundance of what he has, if we can genuinely understand that he determines our appointed times and the boundaries of our habitation, if we can understand that God created us as Nigerians, it's not by mistake, and we did not beg to be created, we should understand that there's a solution in our hands to develop our country, to transform our country, to make our country a better place for people to live in, and for our children and our children's children to live in, and to be proud of our contributions. When we understand that, we will detach ourselves from this rat race mentality, this get rich quick mentality, this blowing mentality, this mentality of microwave, microjet mentality, and we will settle down to the business of real life-changing effort, real life-changing project, real life-changing lasting effort that will transform our country, so that we will not be counted with those in the hall of fame of consuming. Will be calculated in the hall of fame of those who are making contributions. And power is always available. There's growth in everything that we do. We have the power. We have the capacity to change things. And everywhere that I go as a Christian, I fly the flag of our Lord Jesus Christ, because I realize that that is the flag I've been called to fly. Everybody has an agenda. So as I'm speaking to you, I'm a medium. I'm speaking the counsel of a particular power center. And that is the counsel that I'm speaking. And everybody speaks the counsel of the power center they represent. And that is the most important thing. That at the end of the day, if we recognize the power that resides inside of us as Christians, followers of Christ, a Christ that was spent only 3.5 years in this world, raised 12 people, and till today, the impact of those 12 people are still being felt, and they will be felt until he returns. That is the kind of Jesus we are talking about. I don't see how you can carry that Jesus and you not change things. I don't see how you can carry that Jesus and you not speak and people will not look twice. I don't see how you can carry that Jesus and you not go to a place and you will not transform the situation. I don't see. So maybe what we are carrying, we need to check what we are carrying, because the Jesus we are carrying is a life transforming Jesus, is a situation transforming Jesus, is an advancement conscious Jesus. So if you carry him, you can change anything.
Oh my God, thank you for today. Thank you for this day. Thank you for your grace. Oh, make it your balanu. Asiwaju umbobo ini tokandu. Oh, see my life, oh Lord, I'm grateful. My testimony by your grace, oh benini jagaru boni down. Ọlọ́run mi, my comforter, mọ̀rírẹ́ gbà ọ́, ó ṣe mí lóore, mọ̀rírẹ́ gbà ọ́. ṣe mí lóore, mo ríre gbà ó, mo mọ̀re, mo mọ̀re. You say, mo mọ̀re, mo mọ̀re, mo mọ̀re, mo mọ̀re, mo mọ̀re, mo mọ̀re, mo mọ̀re. Listen, my Father, my power, supplier, provider, my prayer, my answer, my prayer, my answer. Àtògbójúlé, alágbàwídé, mímọ́ mímọ́ funfun báláwo, ògbèjà kí ni ọba gbára dọ̀bálẹ̀. Àdániwáyé, abániṣetán ọlọ́pàá oore, abániṣẹ́ kìkìdá ògo kìkìdá agbára, kìkìdá ìyanu ìwọ ló gbọ́ kìrìbìtì ìyá tó fẹ̀yìntì máyẹ̀, ìwọ ni màá gbéga, ọ̀gángán jọ̀wọ́ gẹ̀lì. Ó yá ẹ bá mi wá àlùjọ, àlùjọ, àlùjọ. Fọba tó marvelous, fọba tó marvelous, glory and honor. Fọba tó marvelous, hallelujah, hallelujah, tó marvelous, àlùjọ, àlùjọ. Fọba tó marvelous, ọba tó marvelous, glory and honor. Fọba tó marvelous, hallelujah, hallelujah, tó marvelous. Glory to Jesus. Woo.
Do we feel as though the church is doing enough to prepare people? It's kind of two questions. So first, is the church doing enough to prepare people for this responsibility? And also, as people are going into politics, into governance, how do they deal with the setback?
I'll take it one after the other. First is that the church has a responsibility to be involved in governance, because from the onset, the church was actually the one that birthed what we now know today as government. Like I mentioned, initially it was priests, and before even the kings came into place, it was priests, that were in affairs. And then, at the time we knew of kings like Pharaoh and the others, they who came in and were in charge of the affairs of societies. Yeah. Now, even at that, the priest played a role. So when, for example, Adonijah was planning a coup against Solomon, it took a prophet, Nathan, to go and meet the mother and said, the kingdom is about to be in trouble if you don't stand up. Yeah. So the church had always played an intervening role, even from the scriptures. But our church, until recent, I've seen both prosperity and getting involved in governance and politics as a sin. As a matter of fact, I knew churches back in the days would preach against people getting involved in politics. But things have changed. In the UK, in the US, the church is now playing, in particular Pentecostal churches, are playing more critical roles in politics. Now, what are the kind of roles that they could play? First is in raising leaders that can go into the public spaces, in putting resources behind them. Because see, no matter the good ideas you have, if you don't have the money to get into public service, you can't make it happen.
So should churches sponsor political campaigns?
Yes.
Okay, so I think you asked a very important question, and I think maybe I sort of want to go back to where we started from, which is, why do Christians fail in politics, or why Christians fail in politics? So I will rephrase it slightly. I would say, why don't some Christians win elections, or why are they not successful at elections? But I won't say maybe they failed in politics, because sometimes you go into politics and God doesn't necessarily want you to win an election. He just wants you to go and learn a lesson and then bring that lesson back and replicate it for other things. So God is He's omniscient. He has reasons for doing different things. But why don't some people become successful at elections? I think there's so many things. If you look at what it actually takes to win an election, and I think a lot of times when those pillars are not there, no matter how good a Christian you are, and no matter how well you've prayed, angels are not going to come down to cast votes. So it's people that are going to vote for you. So, and there are three things that I generally say are required for every political figure, every political office aspirant that is going into office. You've got to have a message. You know, your message is absolutely critical. You know, no matter how, I mean, Jesus had a message. You know, Jesus came and he said, you know, he literally said, you know, the Spirit of the Lord is upon me because I've been anointed to do X, Y, Z, and he listed his message. And for the rest of his life, that was his mandate for 3 years. You know, so you've got to have your message, and that message has to be critical. You know, and we've seen people who are not Christians being able to craft proper messages, and they share it. You know, people who are not even politicians. You have the, you know, Martin Luther King Jr. I Have a Dream was a message. It was a message that caught on and still to today and delivered, I mean, partially delivered the dream up until now. You know, I mean, he's a devout Christian, he was, you know, and said that he had been to the mountaintop, he has seen something. Wow, what, I mean, people should wonder what did he see? Obviously, he saw something in the spirit because he was a spiritual man. You know, and then you've got to have also the message and then the messenger. So you as the person, and in the messenger, I believe that every single person that is going into politics, and this is why I keep saying I am not a politician, I believe deeply in governance, and two different things. So but we need politics to deliver governance. So therefore, you need to get engaged in politics so that you can deliver governance.
I'm also going to say that there's a difference between failing in politics and failing in election. They're two different things. If I hear the word failing in politics, I will mean that maybe they get elected into public office or into public service, and they have found to be wanting of character. That's a whole different thing. But failing in election, like, you know, has been alluded to, you know, can be key, can be as a result of certain factors.
Certain factors,
The
yes.
resources is major. You can have a good message, you can be of character, you can have all the courage in this world, but if you don't have the right platform and the right resources, it will fail. And that's why the Bible talks about the wise man who saved the whole city but was poor. And as a result, his voice was never heard because he was poor.
I mean, okay,
So let me explain this. So now, as a result of his poverty, his message did not resonate to anybody. So I went on campaign ground. I went to every nook and cranny of my local government. When you go there, you tell them of your great vision. They're excited, they see the vision, they tell you, we believe in you. You can do it. And then when you said to leave, they said to you, Honorable, you cannot leave without dropping something. At all, naim bad. So every day you're leaving, you know, averagely, you need a minimum of 50 to 100,000 in your pocket when you're going out. To places, depends on where you are going to. If you are going to see the leaders, you spend more. If you're going to see ordinary people, even literally, you come out of your house in the morning, somebody just sees you on the road because you're an aspirant, you have not entered. Honorable, I've seen you this morning, I'm eating breakfast. There is a level of poverty in the grassroots that makes not just, you know, in your campaign, but makes resource an essential. Now, if you have a resource from a dodgy foundation, if you don't have access to resources in the godly way, and you have resources from a compromising way, you have no choice to compromise when you get there, most of the time.
so this is why you say that churches should support.
So church need to look for and identify Christians, people of value, and put resources. They're like special interest group in America. So they come and say, you know what, we are against abortion. This candidate is against abortion. We will vote this person so that when it gets to Congress, it's not going to support abortion. You know, their values and the challenges. Our democracy is not based on values.
One that can.
Character, who is a follower of Christ and who has a governance, you know, mandate to run for the local government chairman.
There's often a fear with Christians that when you get into politics, especially in this country, that it will change you. Does politics have the power to change a person? Is politics changing you?
No, it's not. As a matter of fact, I think I'm trying to change politics, the way it's done. Politics, like every other thing, environment can change you. What is important is that you have a support base.
Yeah.
That's part of the responsibility of the church and your network. So the church has responsibility not just to finance people to go into public service, but also to create a support base, a spiritual base, a leadership base, a mentorship base. So we need to produce leaders who can go in there and would not be changed by the environment, would see money and would not be moved would see the affluence and the temptations of power, but will continue to know that the fear of God is the beginning of wisdom. So the first is ensuring that we can produce people that have the fear of God. And when they get there, automatically they begin to live the life of holiness and the fear of God with the support system around them, because politics truly can change you, but with the right support base and support system.
Yeah.
So I'll give you an example. It's a practical example. The vice president of Nigeria is a born-again Christian, he's a pastor. I know, as many people in Nigeria know, of a strong relationship with God, that when he was offered the position, he said, go and talk to my pastor. I know that very regularly he would visit his mentor, spiritual leader, Pastor Adeboye. So that's a support base for him. So even when he has a situation where the chances that he would fall, he will run back to God or to his mentor and they can call him to order. But when you don't have people who can call you to order, you have a
The
chance.
network is not
Yes.
is not properly
So
structured.
the church must not just only finance, but they must create a support system. And the association that you have around you as a Christian, I would say, iron sharpens iron, as a man sharpens the countenance of his friends.
Okay, final question as we have to close out. Like I said, this is not the kind of topic that we can really exhaust and discuss completely in like the few minutes that we have. But as we start to close, do you honestly think that the politics and the political scape on the governance, since we've now established that there's a difference between the politics and the governance, do you think that the governance in Nigeria can change?
I think it's time to take over.
Yeah.
It's time to influence our governments and our politics. It's time for change. We just need to invest more in the next generation that would make that change possible.
Yeah.
It's an intergenerational change, but the older generation have responsibility to prepare the younger generation and get them ready for that change that we desire to see. Yes, Nigeria will change. It's happening already. It's a process. Rome was not built in a day. It would happen over time.
Yeah.
It's generation from generation.
Yeah.
But I have no doubts that there is a purpose of God for this generation. I have no doubts that this is a generation that seeks the face of God. We're privileged to be in this generation, the social media generation, the Twitter generation, the Instagram generation. They're all two for a purpose. The innovation that God has created for a purpose. And we're finding it out bit by bit. Look at what happened in Arab Spring. Look at what's happening in England with young people. 70% of young voters came out in this election. Things are changing across the world. Trump is there, is saying something to us. Macron is saying something to us. The world is shifting. It hasn't come to Africa yet, but it's coming there. And those who have spiritual intelligence already see it coming close, that things are about to shift. There's going to be a major generational shift in Africa in the coming years that we see it, in particular from 2018 onward. But we need to begin to prepare the new armies that are going to be involved in that. And the church needs to rise up and begin to put her on. There is an agenda for every religion to put their people in the place of power. So it is rumored that there is an Islamic agenda, there is an atheist agenda. We also need to create a Christian agenda to begin to fill up places of leadership with people of the Spirit, people who can get there and discern and solve problems. And young people do not wait to be called upon to be given opportunity. You have to rise. I said earlier, and then I arose as a mother in Israel. So sometimes you have to rise against oppression. Look at Moses. He was there and he realized that this is wrong. I need to do something. And he stood up. So sometimes you have to stand up to do what is right. And impossible is nothing.
Awesome. Wow. I'm a bit short of words. I don't know what to say other than to say thank you so much for being here. It was such a pleasure to have this conversation. But remember that you can keep the conversation going. You can follow us on Twitter, that is @ChurchCultured, on Instagram, that is @ChurchCultureInc. And if you missed the episode, don't worry, just go to our YouTube channel, that is @ChurchCultureInc. Subscribe to the channel, watch all the previous episodes, comment and share with your friends. Till next time, my name is Funmi Ogunbawo. I will see you later. Bye.